I think are we there?
Okay.
We're ready? All right, I think we're good, Koo, whenever you're ready.
All right, 6:30. I'll call to order of the regular meeting of the Tracy City Council, 6:30 p.m. Monday night, March 23rd, 2020. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
To
the
the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands,
one
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And there's no invocation tonight. Number 4, update on COVID-19 pandemic. Eric?
Thank you, Council. This is obviously a unusual circumstance tonight in terms of this meeting. I'm glad we got the technology to work. I'm going to put the presentation up. Basically, what I want to talk tonight about is what's been happening in the last couple of weeks. This is my first council meeting, and it's been kind of interesting and unique as we go along. But really, what have we been doing in terms of closures, some policies and operations, communications, etc. And this will kind of segue into some council actions that we have on the agenda tonight that we're asking you to consider as resolutions a little bit later, and I'll go through some of that as well. Closures. We closed the multipurpose center on the 14th through the 27th, and we'll consider whether or not that's going to be extended at that time. How do I get rid of this, Shane?
There you go.
This is what technology is. It's great. Counselor, you probably can't see what just happened. We just had a message pop up on the computer that had the presentation on it, and so you love that technology. The multi-purpose center, we closed that mainly because that was a senior center and that was the most vulnerable population at that particular time. Later that day, the governor also and the Minnesota Department of Public Health said that they suggested we close any meetings of vulnerable populations. So we're right on track with what that is. The VMC gym was closed on the governor's orders, also through the 27th. On the 23rd, starting today, we closed the DMV services. About 80%, as I understand, plus of the state's DMV services are closed across locations across the state. So we're basically following the herd on that one. Every other city service is open. There was a bit of little confusion about that because some of the things that we closed with the DMV services, people thought, well, geez, is your whole office closing? And that's not the case. That was just the DMV. And then we're going to continue to monitor the situation, and we'll make closures if we're required to do so at this point, or we think that it's unsafe. Certainly non-essential services only. We'll always have emergency services, police and fire, as well as our public works there to provide services to people, and so I don't want people to be concerned about that. But it just depends to a certain extent on what the state does. We made some changes kind of in the short run to some of our human resources policies. Sent out a memo on the 13th telling people not to come to work if they're sick or if they feel like they've been exposed to someone who is known to be diagnosed with the coronavirus. And so that's the only situation. I know we've had some situations where we have had some employees that went on vacation. Maybe they came back from another part of this country, or maybe they came back from another country. We've generally been following procedures outlined by the CDC for those people in all the cases so far, and that could change if the regulations change. Generally speaking, if they come back from those vacations, as long as we'll follow recommendations on that various country or within the United States. we made the decision that if we had to close a facility, such as the multi-purpose center, that those people are going to continue to be paid, and they're being reporting to work, but they're on some other duties at this point. We want to make sure that people are continuing to be paid and know that they still have a job, even if we have to close something. If you voluntarily take leave due to the coronavirus because of maybe bullet number 1, where you are sick or you've been exposed, we also developed a very generous leave policy that allows you flexibility to use any leave that you possibly can so that you can continue to be paid as well. And then we'll have to address, self-quarantining if someone wants to come back from vacation and self-quarantine, or if they're required to based on what those CDC recommendations are. And so we're just being really, really careful with employees because we want to make sure that they are safe. And we have emergency personnel that we have a very limited number of people. If all of our police department got sick at the same time, that would be a problem for us, especially since there's only 4 of them. And so we're just being very, very careful because we don't have the ability to fill holes if they get closed. From an internal operations standpoint, we're following recommendations from places like the CDC, the Minnesota Department of Health, League of Minnesota Cities has put together a series of recommendations for us. We've started to ramping up our sanitizing efforts. We put hand sanitizing stations at all public points of entry that people can use. Outside the city clerk's office here, we're limiting 1 customer at a time inside the clerk's office and asking people to queue up outside. I also asked Peggy to put together a financial tracking system so that we know what we're spending on it at this point. It's not a ton, but we've been buying supplies, and this will help us in the future if there's federal government or state government assistance for reimbursement for any kind of efforts related to coronavirus and the pandemic, and so that's what we're doing there. And I've been asking the staff to go out and pursue additional supplies, which, even for us are in short supply in some cases. And so we're doing the best we can. Right now, I think we're sitting pretty good on things like gloves and some masks and things like that, but it's limited. And so we're make sure that those are secured so that if we need to have them for a future issue, we have them. Public communication is really, really key. This meeting is televised, and it's important for people to know what's going on. And so the first thing is we need to be consistent with what we tell people. And so I kind of put together an internal communications team, Diane, Acting Chief Hansen, who's also kind of running our website, as well as the police Facebook page, and myself. We're monitoring that, making sure that all of the communications are the same, that they're coming from official sources only. And so we want to make sure that we get out good information. And we're putting that out on the public access station that folks are looking at right now, on the city website and social media. The other thing that I did as well is that we put up a one sheet of information that's going to be published in the shopper that happened today and Wednesday in the paper. It's designed to be clipped out if you want to put it on top of your fridge or something like that. It gives some basic information from the hospital and City Hall and things like that, and what's going on with services that people might care about in the community, as well as a list of phone numbers. So that way, if you want to have a quick reference for, oh my gosh, what is the policy of this, or where should I go for that? Really, really important stuff. This would be something that's really handy. We can print this out. We can put it on the website. And I emailed you a PDF of this earlier today, Council, and so you should be able to see that, what that looks like. We kind of started this process my first week here on the 13th. We initiated a meeting Dale Johnson, our fire chief, has been our emergency manager while Chief Lichty is out. Police Chief Lichty has been on vacation the last week. And we created this working group headed by Dale, and it's been a good group. We've had a couple of meetings so far. Representatives from the city, the hospital, the ambulance, Lutheran Social Services, the school district, the Prairie View Assisted Living and Twin Circle Apartments. All of those people have been in attendance at these various meetings and talked about, what can we do as a community to come together to meet the needs. And it's actually been a really good learning experience in terms of understanding what other people have and what they might need to have, what might need in the future. And so, we, as the city, we kind of felt that was a good place to start pulling people together, and we were best positioned to do that. And so we're meeting weekly on that now. So what we're asking the city council to do is really three things, one of which you're already doing, which is electronic meetings for the city council. And appreciate the council's support on this. We think it's important, not just from a safety standpoint, because we don't want council members sick, but and we have a governor who's self-quarantined now, so obviously it can hit people. And so, doing these electronic meetings, it also kind of sets the tone, I think, for the public to say, we're social distancing here too as much as we can, and so it's about that leadership. And so there's two other resolutions that's going to be on your agenda a little bit later tonight. One of them is an emergency declaration, which has to be declared by the mayor first and then ratified by the city council to extend that. And the third one, which is something that I can't do myself, we've kind of suspended large meetings and large groups here already and closed some facilities, but your boards and commissions, are appointed and report directly to the city council, and so we're asking you to pass a resolution suspending in-person meetings for those. They can still do them by phone or video conference if they so wish, so that business can continue. But it is something we don't think is a good idea to have in-person meetings for those boards and commissions as well. And so that's essentially it in terms of what the current status is, for the public as well as for you all. And I've been trying to keep you updated and informed. Mayor, do you have any questions? Does the city council have any questions about what was presented so far? I'm not seeing anybody coming forward with any questions, but thank you for giving me a few minutes to kind of explain where we are, for the public as well as for yourselves, and that's all I have, since we don't have any other questions. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Eric, for the much needed information. That's very valuable information for our city here. Approval of the minutes from March 9th, 2020.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
First and second, discussion. Hearing none. Approval of the minutes from March 9th, 2020 passed. Any addition to the agenda, Shane or Eric?
No.
Okay, can I get a motion for approval of the agenda for tonight?
Motion to approve. Second.
First and second, any discussion? Are we still voting, Diane?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, it's a requirement when you do video conferencing to vote by roll call.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, Jerry Jones?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Teagues?
Aye.
And Koo?
Aye. Approval of the agenda.
Was that for the minutes or the agenda?
Are we going back to do two? Diane?
You didn't vote on the first one, you vote on both, you should vote on both of them. yeah.
Right.
All right. Which one was that, Diane?
You want to vote on the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Minutes?
Jones?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Teigs?
Aye.
Tao?
Aye. All right, approval of the minutes from March 9th is passed. Any conflict of interest for tonight? Hearing none. Public comment, none. Public hearing. Do we have to wait?
Nope,
No,
we're good.
There's no time for that, huh? Okay.
It's
6:45, it's good.
All right, so we'll have the public hearing for variance request from Jeremy Whipple, 10 and 20 Pine Street.
I don't know if we have any people. We don't. What, council, I just want to let you know, we set up an email that people can use to ask questions, either for general public comment, for any other purpose. It's citycouncil@tracymn.org. I don't have any at this point, and so I'm going to turn it over to Shane just to talk about this briefly, and then turn it back to you. Shane, do you have any? I know that Jeff would normally do this, but.
Yeah.
Here's the, if you need it.
I don't know, Shane's doing some math here, so let's,
I just want to make sure what the setback needed to be on that, but.
okay.
So, this is pretty much identical to the last public hearing we had on the current twin home that they have constructed, mostly constructed already on Pine Street. Asking for the same rear yard setback. The problem is, with what they want to put in there, it was a 22-foot lot setback that's remaining. And based on the ordinance, it requires it's 28 3/4 feet, so just short of 29 feet that's required. So they're going to need that extra 7 feet to encroach onto that rear yard setback to make their project work, if that makes sense.
Is that gonna inhibit anything building on that lot behind it?
No, because it's still, based on their plans, it's still 22 feet from their rear yard setback, or from their lot line. So they still have 22
Okay.
feet. It's just their backyard is essentially smaller than what the ordinance requires.
All right, I was just making sure on that.
Yep.
So we recommend this approval?
I mean, it's identical to what we did for the last one.
Yeah, so it's something that you've done in the past, council, and so we certainly recommend approval and answer any questions that you've got.
So who needs to close the public hearing?
Yeah, so the procedure would be, if there's no other questions, then the mayor would close the public hearing, and then you could have a discussion and vote on it.
All right, so if there's no other question, I'll close the public hearing. And we'll go to vote.
But I'd make a motion to approve the variance for the Pine Street property. I'd second that.
First and second, any discussion, any other questions? Hearing none, motion passed. Variance
What?
request from Jeremy Whipple,
Oh, we
Ma-
got to vote.
10 and 20 Pine Street, passed.
Mayor, we need to have a roll call vote.
Let's go for a vote. Thank you.
Peterson?
Aye.
Teigs?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Tao?
Aye. All right, variance request from Jeremy Whipple, 10 and 20 Pine Street, passed. Department heads, did everybody get a chance to read those?
So council, I asked the department heads not to come tonight to, keep in the idea of keeping the meeting down. And so the reports are written. There is one, I read through mine myself. I do want to point out that I asked Peggy to do something a little bit different on the financial reports in addition to what the normal stuff that you get. There's also kind of a plain language narrative. And I kind of like that because kind of gives you a sense for what the issues might be that we're facing. And so I plan on continuing to do that unless you don't like it. But I think it's easy to read. And so we're working on some other things like that we might change in terms of giving you kind of a real quick, almost a dashboard of information, so that you don't have to dive into the detail. More of an executive summary, I guess you could say. But that's what you see there. If you have any questions about that, Shane and I will attempt to answer them if we know the answer. If not, then we'll get back to you with the specifics.
Any questions?
No.
Oh, actually, you know what? There is one thing I think we want to address, because I know that Councilmember Shones was asking about it earlier, and that is the status on the liquor store, the new liquor store. Shane, can you give us a quick status on where we are with that?
As far as the council goes, I guess what are they, you looking for a timeline?
Timeline, when is it going to be done, et cetera?
The unknown right now is the Department of Energy changed some of the requirements for refrigeration equipment. So we're not exactly sure when that equipment's coming in for the beer cave end of it. But everything else looks like it's gonna fall into the timeline that was proposed, in I think it was mid-June or early, or not June, February. Trying to skip ahead here, but so we're looking at mid-June. Hopefully we're pretty much wrapped up as far as getting it ready to open. It's just our unknown is our refrigeration equipment. Once that comes, it's just a matter of getting it installed. So
That's when the building will be complete, Shane. That doesn't necessarily mean that when it would be open.
Yep, correct. As things progress, I told them to keep me informed as far as what they know for timelines on equipment. I know back when I ordered it, they're talking up to 16 weeks out, which is twice of what it was last year when I talked to him. But, that's worst case scenario, so hopefully it's here sooner. But, that we're at the mercy of the manufacturer there, so. But yeah, other than that, everything that was discussed. I could send the council out the timeline along with the board, so everybody kind of knows where it's currently sitting. I guess if they start shutting down lumber yards or anything like that, it's going to throw a huge damper in progress. But that's say nothing's going to shut down as far as keeping that forward. It's a pretty good estimate on where things will land. So.
So the refrigeration, the stuff for the beer cave has been ordered with the new specifications that they're saying?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
So everything's on order, it's just a matter of how long it's gonna take to get here.
Okay. The plumbing and electrical and everything's coming along?
The under slab is 75% complete, and by the end of the week that should be complete, and then we'll start getting the insulation down and get it poured. So that's the only part that took a little longer than expected, is getting that stuff ready. But the end timeline, we actually got a good jump start on the front. We're just waiting for some siding materials, and then we'll actually be ahead of the game on the front side, so it'll come out in the wash in the end. So
Yeah.
Sounds good.
we want it done as much as everyone else, so.
So that's all we have for department reports.
I do have one more thing.
Oh, actually, Diane has something. I'm sorry.
So included in the library's department head report, she included the meeting room application and the meeting room policy. She indicated that the library board had approved it. I don't know if the council wants to approve it as well. It was included in your packet there.
Yeah, I don't know if you delegate that to the board or if you want to approve that as well.
It's free to everybody, isn't it? So I don't know why we'd have to worry about, because we're not going to be collecting any fees or anything. So I don't think it's anything that we really need to worry about approving as long as the library board's good with it.
If they put it in with their minutes, when you approve their minutes at the next meeting, it'd be approved that way anyway, so.
And I believe they have the authority under the statutes as a library board to make those decisions on their own.
Okay. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of appetite to do that then, so it works for me. With that, unless Diane or Shane have anything else, I think we're done with department reports unless you have any questions.
Any highlights from your report, Shane, that you want to share?
I guess anything you want to know?
That's called passing the buck, both ways.
It's not snowing, so we got that going for us. Say it looks like it might warm up here, and we might start attacking some potholes now that our mix is. We can actually find it now in the snow bank out back. So
We're going to definitely need to have a more in-depth dive into our infrastructure projects here pretty soon with you. Because those specs are going to be firmed up pretty soon, and at some point we're going to have to put out some bids on some of these contracts. I think this year for phase 2, is that right?
Yep.
And so that's something we're going to have to spend some time in a future city council meeting talking about in more detail, because we're spending a lot of money, a lot of the taxpayers' money, and so just keep that in mind moving forward. But that's all we got. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, so moving on to, there's nothing under petition, request communication, legal issue, appointment of city mayor. So we only have one application, right?
Yes, we have one person who submitted an application, and that's Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, okay.
And I will abstain from any discussions or motions or do that, so.
Okay. I would say that we are in a very strange time right now with a lot of stuff going on, and it's, a lot of stuff that are uncertain, and I think that, we need someone that had experience, someone that's seasoned. So I would, make the recommendation to accept the application and appoint Councilman Peterson as the city mayor. I would be open for discussion too if there's anything.
Yeah, my only question was going to be if you wanted it. And I understand, it's like you're saying, with somebody that's been around for a while doing it.
Yes.
I have no issue with it either.
Jerry, any?
No, I think you said it well. I think right now Tony probably has the most experience. He's at least done the job in the past, and right now with all this pandemic stuff and everything, I respect you, Koo, for acknowledging that.
Yes. If there's nothing else, we'll go to vote.
We need a motion.
We need a motion, yes.
Can I get a motion? I make the
I'll
motion.
make a motion to appoint Tony the mayor.
I'll second.
Koo can't. Can Koo second it?
Yeah, you can second it. It's fine.
Okay.
So we need a vote, Mayor.
Okay.
Can we get a vote, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Tao?
Aye.
Peterson. Can he vote?
Abstain.
Yes, abstain.
Abstaining.
Yeah.
Okay. And Teagues.
Aye.
All right. So we got the motion and it's passed. Appointment of council.
One other thing, so now there'll be an open seat on the council table. So I think the council should give guidance on the time period of which you want to advertise for applicants to fill that seat. Because the city needs to provide notice of the opening like we did for the mayor's spot, so just the council can determine the length of period that advertisement should run.
So hang on, we're gonna appoint someone to city council?
Yes.
Or
To
we
fill
can-
Claudia's
Yeah.
position.
Advertise, yep.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, because now that Councilmember Peterson is now Mayor Peterson, you have to backfill that council seat.
There's a vacant seats, and now we have to fill that through the next election.
So, hang on, I'm confused. We're appointing or we're,
No,
Doing an election.
you're declaring a vacancy on the city council seat, and then you need to advertise pursuant to the city charter. So what I mentioned is just
Okay.
some guidance on the council, how long you want to advertise for that seat to be open.
I mean, if you feel like it, we could do it as soon as the next meeting. It's up to you, council, in terms of how you would like to proceed.
Well, I know in the past, when we had a seat open with an election coming up in less than a year, we just left it vacant. But that's up to the rest of you folks if you want to, the only expense is going to be the advertising cost.
I guess I say we advertise it. I mean, it's what we've done. I mean, it's how both Koo and I started on the council was appointments. Get someone on there. If they find out it's not so bad, and we come back. Right, Koo?
Yeah.
and is,
The
was
difference
Tony
Jerry, was
starting
Tony
up
up
this
here,
year?
Yeah, I'd be done in January unless I refile.
Okay,
I say we run it for 2 weeks. Well, let's see, today's the 20.
April 13th would be the
23rd.
first meeting.
If we ran it for 2 weeks, that would still give us a week to interview.
Yeah, because we had 3 weeks between this council member meeting and the next one because of the 5th Monday of the month. So, yeah, we probably could.
Run the advertisement for 2 weeks, then line up interviews.
You don't,
That's what we did the last couple times,
no.
or at least for me, was an interview.
Do you want to interview council, or do you just want to review the applications?
Well, we could first start off saying we'll review the applications, I suppose.
I think that'd be the easiest.
I would agree with that, and then if it comes down to it that we feel after reviewing them that we need to interview, let's say that's 2 people that are, it's like, it's one or the other, just to sit down and talk to them a bit, leave that open-ended.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay.
So is that a motion then, or?
Do we need a motion, Matt?
I would advise you guys to pass a motion on that.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion that we advertise for 2 weeks for the open council position, and then review candidates and proceed from there.
Second,
Okay, so you have a motion and a second to advertise for an open seat. Is there any discussion? Go to vote?
Teagues,
aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Shones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson,
Aye.
So Mayor, it looks like that passes. It's all yours now. You're running the show.
All right. Next item then is a resolution ordering the appointment for a Charter Commission member of Rosemary Martin.
Didn't we do that last time?
Well, this is a resolution, I think, because she
Couldn't
had to go
draft the
through
resolution
that.
until we knew who it was.
Still gotta be appointed to the judge.
Yeah, you decided last time, but we needed the resolution, and we didn't have that drafted before, so this is basically just a paper over what you already decided.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-15 to appoint Rosemary Martin to the Charter, Commission.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for the resolution. Is there any discussion? Go to vote.
Tao,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Shones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson,
Aye. Motion carries. So the next item on the agenda then is a resolution 2020-16, the authorizing the city administrator to suspend the city of Tracy subcommittees, boards, and commissions during the pandemic. They can meet electronically. Looking for a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2020-16 authorizing the city admin to suspend the city of Tracy subcommittees, board, and commissions during the COVID-19 outbreak.
I'll second that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Going to vote?
Teigs,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Shones,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. At this time, the motion carries, and at this time, I would declare that a local state of emergency exists due to the COVID-19 outbreak, and I would entertain a motion for resolution number 2020-17.
I'd make a motion to, go ahead, Jerry.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Dave. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2020-17, declaring a state of emergency locally.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Going to vote?
Tao,
Aye.
Shones,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is the consent calendar.
I'd make the motion to approve the municipal accounts payable without Breakthrough Beverage and without Sanford and the accounts receivable.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the consent calendar without Breakthrough or without Sanford. Is there any discussion? Go to vote?
Shones,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. We still have to do Breakthrough Beverage and Sanford Health.
I'll make the motion.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I'll make the motion to approve breakthrough beverage.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve payment to Breakthrough Beverage. Is there any discussion? Go to vote?
Shones,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. Do we need a motion for Sanford Health?
I'd make a motion to pay Sanford.
Second.
A motion and a second to pay Sanford Health. Is there any discussion? Go to vote?
Tao,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Mayor Peterson.
Aye. Motion carries. There's no unfinished business. Is there any new business before the council? Mayor, council communications, I'd like to take this time to thank you guys for the faith you have in me. We're working together, we'll get through this whole mess, and somebody else can have the saddle in January. So that's all I have, unless anybody else.
Can I just suggest one thing? If we're going to continue with these meetings, and if there's any, like, for the public, a lot of people don't email. I'm wondering if we need to have a phone-in number for people also.
You know, council member, we discussed a lot of things internally about how to handle it. The short answer is that, yeah, we would like to find a way for people to participate besides just an email. It became difficult because we couldn't figure out how to queue the calls, how to manage the calls, who is going to be on the line, deciding who gets to talk and who doesn't. I think we can work out some of those technical difficulties to make something like that happen. But, you know, on this relatively short notice, we were pushing just to get this working, which, by the way, I'm going to just say that you guys have been great, and I'm just amazed that the technology worked, you know, as well as it did tonight. And I, you know, want to thank Shane and Diane. I think they beat themselves over the head against the wall on Friday trying to figure out how to make this work. But, council member, we absolutely will find better ways for people to communicate than what we did tonight. So thank you.
Eric, how often do they check the Dropbox for the water bills?
Oh, I think we do it daily. Yeah, I mean, and so if that's one of the things we've been.
That's the simplest solution.
Well, in other words, just have people put comments in there.
Yeah, that if some people don't want to talk to anybody or don't want to email, but they wouldn't be, you know, if they pull them out and give them to you and bring them to the council.
Yeah. We could put a box out there too, for that matter, that even says, you know, comments to council or something like that, if people want to do that anonymously. Sure.
No, can't do it.
They have to
anonymously.
state their
I
name.
would
and
want
address.
some accountability for that, because it's very easy for people to put things on paper and throw it in a box and not be held accountable.
Well,
Yeah. I was just told by.
I think if they want to, I would think if they want to have a question asked or a comment made that goes public, they have to print their name on the piece of paper.
In fact, I was just told by Diane, you know, our assistant or deputy city clerk, that in order for it to be official, they'd have to put their name and address on it. So they can't do it anonymously. So I misspoke when I said that. I didn't misspeak. I was wrong.
Join the club.
And I think it's helpful in terms of declaring the state of emergency. That doesn't mean that the city's in panic in any regard. It's a legal mechanism that allows the city to access local, state, and federal resources to deal with this. And then also, it helps with eliminating some of the timely procedures. For instance, competitive bidding requirements are relaxed. So if we get in a situation where we need to buy a bunch of supplies, we don't need to put out bids and such. So for the public, it doesn't mean that the city's in panic, but it's a legal mechanism that we are employing to help ease the transition to get through some of these things and also to access some resources. So it's not any determination of the city's unpreparedness or panic. It's just a legal mechanism.
In fact, I would say that, you know, we're proceeding in the same way that I think, you know, all, if not most, Minnesota cities are. And so, you know, I'm really proud of the work that the staff has done to put all of these things together because, you know, at the end of the day, we have to do these kinds of things under these very strange circumstances, and you know, everybody's pulling together so that we can provide good services to the people of Tracy, and that's what we're all about at the end of the day.
Yep. That does bring one other thing to mind. If you're going to be like closing, you know, other business like the library,
Yep.
you know, the city offices, liquor store, you
Yep.
know, other city entities, if we could just have like a FYI communication, so we're all up to speed, so when
Yep.
people question us, we're not caught unawares.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think I have done that, as well as to send the city council. But I will absolutely do that in the future. If anything changes, you know, maybe not because of something that we did, but somebody might force us to do it, like when we had to close the gym, the governor basically forced us to do it. And so we will always communicate with you first so that you're not surprised, you know, when we do that. And what I've been doing is communicating via email. It seems to be the way that all of you are able to get information, and I can do it simultaneously. If there's a better way to do it or a different way you would like me to communicate, I'm happy to do that. You know, just let me know. But that's what I've been doing so far for that reason.
Say for me personally, as if it's like during the business day, call me is going to be best.
Okay. I'll
If
make.
it's something that we need right away or question right away, calling me during the day is going to be the best for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Call or text? Are you saying call or text, Dave?
Either or.
And I don't mind texting, but I know Mayor Peterson doesn't text, and so. See, here's the thing. Now that you're the mayor, you didn't realize that you're signing up for a cell phone now at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Well, my boss has been saying that for the last 10 years too, so.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I'm just teasing you a little bit, but yeah, I mean, text would be the quickest way to do it, but I can't reach you all at the same time, so just know that there's a limitation there.
You're doing it the right way.
Like I said, mine is just for in the emergency phase of it. If it's something that
Right.
we need to get together with right away,
Right.
that's just best for me during business day.
Right.
You could do a group text to Dave and I.
No, we can't do that. I'd be leaving out Tony.
That's all right.
I strive to communicate with you all equally and simultaneously. That's what I try to accomplish. I don't want to be accused of playing favorites, you know? That wouldn't be a good thing for me.
You won't get none of that from me.
Okay. Thank you. Is
Anything
there
else?
anything else that you would like us would like from the staff?
I've got nothing. I'd appreciate all your hard work, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'd make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Let's go to vote.
Teagues,
Aye.
Jones,
I
Tao,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.